Welcome to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, a podcast for tech executives. We provide strategies and tactics to help executives succeed and further their career goals. With interviews from industry experts, leaders, and innovators, this show will surely get you on the edge of your seat with thought-provoking advice on how to stay ahead of the competition. Welcome to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, a podcast exploring the latest trends, strategies, and insights in technology leadership. We'll discuss the most important topics and ideas that are shaping the industry today, from emerging technologies to digital transformation and beyond. Join us to learn all of the juicy secrets of tech leaders, from their biggest successes to their biggest failures, on our quest for gaining that all-important technology edge. So are you ready? Let's get started. Today, my guest is Eugene Schaffronsky. Eugene is the head of strategy at ThinkTum. As a big picture leader, he combines business and technology to modernize, improve, and optimize organizational bottom lines and user experience. Welcome to the show, Eugene.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Your bio is intriguing. So tell me a little more about what you do as head of strategy.
Yeah, I think, representing or working with organizations, technology organization, them working with different insurance providers and carriers, both in Canada and US. One thing that I learned in my career is that we need to get the solutions closer to people. And also people have a tendency to consume, today in a different way than you used to consume 20, 30, 40 years ago. And unfortunately, insurance industry as a whole, specifically life insurance, tends to be very slow in their evolution of understanding the consumption of their own products and their own solutions cannot be done the same way it used to be. So what we did is, and I'm leading that initiative, is trying to make sure that we can provide those solutions to people in a way that they prefer consuming today. But also, we don't forget those who are sitting behind the scenes in back offices, and we also provide them with the tools they allow them to really provide that, or those platforms and the way that people like to consume eventually, right? So we want to eliminate the black box, we want to eliminate the confusion, the complexity, we want to simplify everything, yet not to lose the factors that are so important to insurance industry and the people running it, to make sure they continue to get the accuracy they need and continue generating the proper profit margins and so on.
Perfect. So you mentioned that that consumption of the products is different than it used to be. How has it changed?
Well, I mean, to give you an example, even in the 90s, you would see people that insurance advisors gonna knock on people's door and trying to explain them something with the calculators and papers. I mean, some of them still, I remember even abacus was involved back in the days, right? So, I was a child, but still, I remember those days. It's very different today because in the sense of majority of us, no matter what we buy, we likely gonna conduct some type of online research. And we want things to be available to us online, and we want to go as far as we can. Doesn't mean we will, and it means that for us as consumers, we may require someone to help us to complete the story or complete the journey. But we come way more knowledgeable to purchase almost anything out there. Almost anything you buy today, whether it's Amazon or anything else, you have a consumer experience. You have some rankings of how was the experience of that specific item or that specific solution. So for us, we want to eliminate that old style of someone coming, knocking on your door, sitting in your kitchen and trying to sell you something on a piece of paper when, it's impossible in today's day and age, especially with COVID. We've seen a significant shift on that end as well. So we're trying to provide people with the journey they choose. So it doesn't mean that everything has to be online, but it means that we want them to have a power to choose how they would like to consume any type of solution they're looking for. So enough tools to research, but enough choice to choose the way to consume.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that like we were talking about before we even launched the show today, I think that people are consuming even content differently today. I mean, even simple things like that. And I think that kind of informs their approach for how they buy things, etc. I mean, I know even my wife, like she used to never trust anyone, even me, to go to the grocery store, and now she has people deliver the food for her. She just doesn't have the time. Well, she has the time, but it saves her time by having them deliver the food. And she always says to me, well, it's when I need a box of cake mix, it's a box of cake mix. I don't need to be the one that goes picks off the shelf. Someone else can do it. So I think the way people do things has definitely changed. So tell me how you're utilizing technology to modernize and improve that entire process for people.
So one of the interesting things about all of this is that even technology itself is changing quite rapidly. I mean, in today's day and age, specifically insurance industry, but any type of environment when you're trying to create some of a process, there is an evolution of the no-code platforms. They come in different variations and styles and sizes. And for those of you, whether yourself or the audience, if you don't know what no-code platform is or no-code technology in general, it's technology that allows someone who is not necessarily a technology expert, a programmer, a coder, if you like, yet still create a very unique and personalized journey for someone else, and allows them to constantly be able to update it, adjust it, upgrade it, and so on, without really allocating an IT resources. So when I say IT resources, for someone from outside, it may not mean much, but for almost any organization I ever worked with or at, I can tell that one of the most challenging items is that resource part, right? So I have an IT resource or IT department that have all of these technology people, and there's so many different projects and initiatives, and you always have to fight for prioritizing those. And no-code technology really allowed you to relieve that stress of going to technology people each and every time you need something, but you kind of can do it yourself. Another advantage is that you as a business expert know exactly what you want. So that also eliminates or minimizes the need for broken phone. You don't need to tell someone what you want and that someone's going to tell someone else what you want, and they're going to create something for you. And by the time we get back to you, it may not necessarily going to be exactly what you wanted. Now you think twice, do I accept it? Because I know of me going back now, it's going to be the same lengthy process, the same broken phone, or should I really do that, right? So business has significant impact, and customer experience will have an impact on it. So with our proprietary no-code technology, what we design is we develop that ability for business experts to be able to create whatever they need, understand it fully, like kind of a glass box approach, and also able to constantly, measure it, adjust it, optimize it, making sure this process never stops. Because at the end of the day, with all the evolution today, we're talking about how customers like to consume, right? We have to create something that makes sense to them, because there's always new things coming up. There's always new ideas coming up. There's new solutions, products coming up. You always have to be on the ball. You cannot create something static that will serve you for even several years. Believe it or not, several years today, it's a very, very long period of time in evolution. So we need to make sure that there's something you can adjust as often as you want, not 3 or 4 times a year, but when you really feel there's a need, you make a change to make sure that your customer is happy, the advisors who use the products are happy because that's how they sell it, and in the end of the day, you happy because you make sure you get in what you want, and you get in the way you want it, and you get more of it as a business. That's what you want eventually.
So is your use of technologies to help making the companies more agile?
Well, yes, in a way it is. I mean, I think agility counts a lot. It's a project management methodology of agile, obviously, but it supports it because it allows you to even to a degree maybe eliminate some of that need to go to project managers altogether. I mean, you can manage your own projects in your way, but yes, it allows you significant agility in a different way as you don't need to, there's a long-term and short-term plans, but you can, the idea in the business, especially in insurance business, it's about taking risk. And when you take risk, the old methodology was let's take a lot, let's take it over a significant amount of time, let's then let measure it. Today, you have more tools to measure it in advance, to measure it earlier before you hit something you don't want to see. So our agility in that environment, or that sense of what you mentioned, allows organizations to monitor much more frequently and much more effectively what they do. And in reality, it allows them generate better, more clean of the profitability margins, or overall, business going to be clean. They will be able to measure that in a way that they may make adjustments, or their assumptions going to be more accurate down the road. They may be able to launch better products to the client, to the public. Eventually, they may even create a more attractive pricing structures overall because they will have more confidence in the longevity of what they offer.
That makes sense. I mean, I think one of the things that tech people forget is there are a lot of people that don't understand how to use the tools. You mentioned no code stuff. I mean, I think that's huge for people that don't really know how to use technology. But I think at the same time, because they don't know how to use the technology, they shy away from it as an accelerator for their business. I always tell my clients that when they harness technology correctly, it should be an accelerator for their revenue. It should be an accelerator for their profit. And, too many people are used to the old way of thinking. Like when I was a CTO for restaurant delivery service, I was looked at as like the biggest cost center we had. And yet the numbers kind of betray that. Like we increased profit from 8% on an order to 12% on an order by using technology. Yep. And we made it so that instead of having to have 10 people on a shift, 3 shifts a day, we dropped it down to 2 people on a shift, 3 shifts a day. So 6 people from 30. And we also increased revenue from like 4 million a year to 40 million a year. We switched from 5% online sales to 90% online sales. So, I mean, everything just kind of snowballed. And I finally kind of convinced the CEO, look, we are a technology company. We rely on technology. We have fax servers that send the orders to the restaurants. We do all this stuff. If you don't think this is a technology company, you're kind of asleep, right? And nowadays, everything is a technology company. If you don't have some kind of online presence, you're dead. No one's going to find you. I mean, I've had people ask me, do I need a website? Well, no, you probably don't need the website. But if you want to get found by people, you need a website. It's pretty much that simple. And so I'm wondering, like, have you run into that still today with people who they look at technology as, it's just an expense. I don't want to mess with that. What would you tell them too if they said that?
Well, obviously, especially in our industry, we run into it quite often. I must say though, it's changing, meaning we do see positive shift across the industry as a whole. Obviously, I mentioned before, COVID-19 had a significant impact on it because, in the days when you're not allowed to meet people in person, companies had to really quickly figure out how they meet them, not in person. Otherwise, some of them would have to, announce bankruptcy or not able to operate altogether. So that has had a significant push for that. To mention your point is obviously there's a different ways of kind of cultural, I would say, denial of the need of technology. So it comes from different areas. One is that we have a segment of people, let's say on the revenue side, that used to do things in a certain way, and whether they afraid or just don't feel comfortable or just don't want to, whatever the case is, they don't want to change. So they may dictate sometimes behaviors that companies still will continue operating in the older ways. And then you have some of the executives or some of the business experts that kind of, for the same reason, they're either afraid to lose their job or maybe some different reasons, but it typically has to do with change. They prefer to do things in the old way because they feel comfortable. And for them, learning something new, A, it's challenging. And B, what we see often is that they're afraid that some of the next generation of talent going to get better than them. And if them as being senior or more executive, if they feel someone is better than them at something, they become a little bit insecure about what they do. But in reality, on organizational scale, whatever you mentioned about restaurants or whatever you mentioned about every business today is becoming a technology company, I completely agree with you. We've seen for those who really wanted to do it, they had a significant reduction of cost by, and I'm not saying, there's that connotation or sense of, well, if you bring technology, we'll have to fire people. That's not true because you have a natural attrition of people. People change jobs, people leave, people retire. There's different segments of people. It just means that you don't necessarily need to replace them anymore. And you can train those who stayed behind to do the job in a more technological, more advanced manner. And that's what we see more often. because there's still scarce of good business expertise, and I think it's going to be there forever. Especially in era of technology, many people, if they know only technology, they may not necessarily have expertise in the old ways or how technology is structured. And so those people who have that knowledge always going to be needed and always going to be on demand. But for us, we're trying to make sure people don't get afraid. So you will need less people to run the same or better, because now technology can run it for you. So you, instead of being a factory worker, kind of doing the same thing every day, you will be able to monitor technology and just take on some exceptions of outliers to look at them versus, and let's say talk about underwriting in particular, as you know, those who are assessing the risk, right? Which our technology was kind of, I think, one of the first use cases was for that in particular. So what you're going to see that you need less people, and those fewer people will do a different job. So you don't need to review every application, read it through, stamp it, send it to someone else, review it, approve it, and so on. They will just make sure machine does it properly. And some of the outliers that machine doesn't know how to deal with it, we'll come back to them. But in that scenario, just need to complete the process, not to do it all together. And now they will have access to data. They will be able to provide much better input to their leadership for more advanced initiatives. And by doing so, and now all of that can be done faster. So now if your revenue group can move things faster, guess what? They generate more revenue. Customers are more happy. Now we get to the customer experience that we want to get, more modern, more advanced. And everybody, it's a win-win. So technology is not there to replace anyone. It's there to make everyone better. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment you make there, because I can remember years back, I consulted with Transamerica Life Insurance Company, and they had a single pain point that was causing multiple issues. The pain point was, they get these flat file insurance files, and so when the policy would be potentially sold, and I say potentially because obviously it has to go through the whole underwriting process to actually get approved. But once the agent would go out, they talk to you, and you'd say, "Yeah, I want the life insurance." They put your application in. As soon as the application went in, you appeared into this flat file, and then that flat file was meant to be imported into their system, and then their system was supposed to push the deadlines. So this has to be approved by this date. This has to be approved by this date. Well, the longer that takes, the longer it takes for the agent to get paid. And the longer it takes for the agent to get paid, the less likely they're going to stick around and work for that company. In fact, a lot of insurance agents, they just went and took other sales jobs because, they got paid faster. And the biggest problem they had was you'd make an application, you'd show up in tomorrow's file. Then it took 3 weeks to process the stupid file. It took forever. And so one of the things I helped them do is create a process by which it would consume the file all day long. So as these files were getting dumped in there, instead of waiting, I wrote a tool that parsed it for them and inserted it into their database. But that then leads me to follow up on what you were talking about, because you kind of alluded to automation, right? They're observing what's going on with technology and only dealing with the outliers, right? How do you recommend, businesses that are, especially insurance companies, that are trying to go through an underwriting process and get there quickly so that they can improve their revenue? What kind of automation tools do you recommend for them?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you, Mike. So from that perspective, I can tell you that there's few ways to look at it. And many organizations are already trying to do it. But so automation of the risk assessment of underwriting, that's the key, because that's the longest process. And traditionally over, the history of insurance, that's where, it took the longest time, the most complex and so on. But in reality, and as a former underwriter, I can tell you that it's a little bit, I think we make it more complex than it is. Because underwriting in reality is really ability to take a parameters that you care about and figure out whether the applicant hits those parameters. That's pretty much simple. Is obviously the more complex the product is, the more parameters you have. But in reality is, think about it. Companies trying to ask as many questions as possible just to see whether they hit anything else. And so when they created accelerated underwriting models, they still kept asking the same questions, but they kept on making those questions very complex. So not too many people can answer them. So they say, well, our accelerated underwriting models don't work that well, and only few people can come through. But what if you do it differently? What if you create a personalized experience for every applicant? And you don't need to create it manually. You can train machine to do it. So machine, based on every single trigger that opens in order, can figure out a personalized experience. So you don't need to ask necessarily less questions, but you need to ask relevant questions. And what is not relevant, you're not going to be asking. But at the same time, guess what? By byproduct of it, you will ask less questions, but you get more information and information that you need. And this information will allow you to put more applicants straight through without needing to wait to open the file, because machine can figure out for you. Machine can even correlate it with the data coming from outside. In insurance industry, we have the MIBs, the LexisNexis, the Milliman's of the world, and so on, right? So all this information coming in, all this information can be compared to the disclosure, and you can figure out, even if you don't feel comfortable to send most of it straight through, you can slowly, based on you learning the process, can slowly put more and more people through the machine without needing someone physically to open the file. And that can be, let's say, let's not do it instantly. That can be done in a couple hours. So not 3 weeks. And that advisor can get paid tomorrow, right? Or this week, or whatever the payment information is. That consumer can be insured tomorrow, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, it's everybody wins. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everybody wins. So, and you as an insurance company have a very good data to analyze what you asked, what you collected. The biggest misconception by insurance companies is they heard the word data or big data. Some of them would heard that, and they're very excited about it. So now many of them, and that's a challenge we see a lot from them, is they want it all possible data out there. But in reality, Mike, and let me tell you a secret, don't tell anyone, you don't need all the data. You only need the data you need. And so as an insurance company, for every single process you create or you establish, if you decide what exact data you need to make the best possible decision, you're going to make sure that your process is becoming right there way more effective. Because you're going to save money, because guess what? Every time you go and pull some data, you pay for it. Maybe you don't need all of it, right? So you're going to save money, you're going to save time, you're going to allow your technology to do it better, and you're going to allow your people to continue making the technology do it better, because now your people just need to train it. They don't need to do it themselves. So in the end of the day, that's where we're shifting. The shift is a little bit slow and not everyone on board with that, but we see more and more organizations looking to get there and make it right. And the key here, again, I got to mention it again, personalization is the key. Is not to creating static list of questions, but make sure that it's, Mike, you've done things online. I'm sure you did, and you created some of those. As a user, you want to feel this is for you. I've been in, or I work a little bit with Nike on different things. Nike are great in that personalization. They know what you want. They know what you did. They know your size. Like you come there, it feels for you. I've been in their store in Paris in October. I was visiting Paris. I went there on Champs-Élysées. They have a big store. There's almost no inventory in the store, very limited. But there is a huge floor that says Nike by you. So basically, you can come in and design whatever you want. So whatever colors, whatever styles. So this is the game. This is the game today. For every user out there, we want it to be personal. We want it to be special for us. And if you can create a process when it's special for you, people are going to stick longer, going to like it more. And guess what? They're also going to be willing to disclose to you what you want to be disclosed.
Would you think that AI might play a role in helping personalize these processes?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think we also need to separate, what is AI too, right? Because it's also a big misconception. People a little bit overuse and abuse the word AI today, because I think anything that is computer-based or generated is AI, and maybe, but there's a difference in symbolic AI, and there's more, the machine learning, deep learning, and so on process, right? So I think with symbolic AI, we can definitely do it today. And symbolic AI and no-code are kind of the perfect combination, because you can create, I call it very complex decision trees in a very simplistic manner. So in that where artificial intelligence can be definitely a help to you, or to create, to organizations create we call it hyper-personalized process. That's, by the way, what we use. We use that approach of combination of the no code and the symbolic AI to allow a very, very detailed hyper personalization. User can choose to what they really want to do it. I mean, at some point you kind of cross the line when it's probably no longer user experience friendly. But I mean, you can go as far as you need depending on the purposes of why you want to do it. And then you have the other end of it called the real AI. So think of machine learning, deep learning that can allow you in matter of, well, instantly to monitor your data, and it can monitor a huge amounts of data and monitor in the sense of it can provide you alerts and it can provide you some trends or outliers to make you better instantly. It can predict certain things for you that you cannot predict otherwise until claim happens, right? So, but it can predict for you much sooner than that. And it also can combine two other factors. That's what we do, and we like it a lot, and our some of our clients like it a lot, is to take the disclosure and attach the disclosure to the behavior of the user. So now you have kind of a multi-dimensional correlation between these two, and you can understand what users, what they disclose, how they disclose it. You can avoid some fraud, misrepresentation, misdisclosure, if you like, or non-disclosure. But you also can look at some trends overall, and can see what people like, what they don't like, what they stop, why they stop, how long it takes them, how many times they go back because they got confused. All of these parameters are extremely important because they give you clarity. They remove the uncertainty, which, by the way, that's the major issue in insurance and life insurance is uncertainty. Like, we didn't ask everything, so we're going to start assuming the worst, right? And we're going to price based on that assumption. So you can eliminate that, but you can create trust then between the advisors and the applicants or clients, if you like, and the insurance companies. And that trust can eliminate or minimize the uncertainty. Eventually, you can get the better place.
One of the things I've noticed is like you mentioned scams and fraud, and I think scammers tend to be one-dimensional. They come up with an approach they think works. They use the same names, et cetera. And I have a friend who works in the restaurant delivery industry, and one of their big problems is people using fraudulent credit cards and like delivering food to, say, an Airbnb, and then and their assumption as the restaurant delivery services, what do I care? I know their address. Yeah, you know the address where the food was delivered, but you're not going to be able to ever find that person ever again. But what they're starting to do is use AI, like machine learning, to dig through their data and be like, you know what, this same name or something very similar to it is ordered 5 times, and every single time it's been fraud. Block the order, And I think that's where technology needs to go. It needs to go more now towards helping businesses protect their bottom line, and provide excellent customer service to those customers that are legitimate customers, right? And rather than make technology a roadblock. I mean, we all remember back in the day when you'd call in someplace and you'd say, I want to change such and such on my account. Oh, the computer won't let me do that. Oh, come on. The computer will let you do whatever you want to do if you code it correctly. Maybe you should fix the coding. It always used to make me laugh. Nowadays, I'm hoping that people are going to go more towards all right, our data says you're right. This is a way that we should go, and use the data to make decisions that fit the real world circumstances that business is facing on a daily basis. Too often, I'm a business owner, and I mean, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we do track the success and failure of our efforts. And so we have a track record that we can look back on and go, the last time we tried something like this, we used the wrong approach. Let's use this approach instead. And you make decisions based off the data. But you're right, a lot of people shy away from data. They hear data and they're like, oh my God, it's just an expense. I don't need it. It's too much stuff to sift through. But the computer can do it just like that. I mean, look at chess playing programs. They can outthink human beings just like that, and in rapid fashion. And what always cracks me up, I'm a chess player, and what always cracks me up is when I'll play a game, I'll analyze it myself, and then I'll run it through the engine, and I watch the thing, and it instantly picks the best move, like right away. It doesn't take it any time at all. And if you really dig into what it's doing, it's seeing thousands of variations just right off the top. That's how a computer software can help a business. Let me help you sift through your data and bring out the red flags, positives, as well as the negatives, and let me help you make decisions. I had never really given it much thought, but I think for an underwriting process, it could be huge because
Yeah.
they could even have software that could scan people's social media. And if the person says they don't smoke and you catch them with a cigarette in their mouth and a picture, they lied, right? Like it's kind of scary what could happen. I mean, it's kind of like, we've all heard the stories recently of the cancel culture people, and like you said something you shouldn't have said, and now your bank doesn't want to bank with you anymore. I mean, that's taking it too far. I don't understand why the bank even cares, right? Like they're getting your money, they're making money. Who cares? But I'd like to see people using this technology for more for good than for bad. And thankfully, that's what's been happening. And you're absolutely right. I think people use the term AI to mean everything. I mean, oh, the computer generated this for me. It must have been artificial intelligence. Nah, it actually just went out to a website and copied the stuff and pasted it there. It's not like back to chess. There's that Alpha Zero chess program, and literally it learned to play chess by being fed game after game after game after game, and it just figured it out on its own. They don't even give that software rules of chess. It just got taught those, like you and I would be. And that's true artificial intelligence, because it's acting as if it's a human, but it's not a human. And I can see now, after this has kind of been an eye-opening conversation for me, because after talking to you about this, I as a technology exec, I can see how insurance companies, well, I mean, not even just insurance company. Well, I guess it is not just life insurance, health insurance, any insurance company can use technology to really speed up their process, help them accelerate their revenue and their profit, and maybe make life a little better for the people on the front line selling the product to people, and not have that, huge, gap like they used to have, like I referred to with Transamerica Life Insurance. I mean, imagine you sell hundreds, thousands of dollars worth of commissions coming to you, but you can't get them for 6 weeks because it takes them that long to process the application. I suppose you would adjust, but
you're also running into risk, Mike, of when you wait for so long, and as a business person, is the other person changing their mind? What if someone else approached them? What if someone else approached them with that faster product that they can get tomorrow, and maybe the price is not going to be that different, right? So you are running into risk of losing your business. It's not even waiting for your commission, but you're running at risk of not even getting it, right? What's something interesting you mentioned? I like to use that saying that when it comes to technology, I like to say that people in general are brilliant beings. Like, we have lots of great ideas in our minds, especially those who are running organizations. They got there for a reason. They didn't get there just to get there. They probably did something brilliant in their life to deserve to lead those companies. But as human beings, our brain is getting tired very quickly. And guess what? It's mainly getting tired because we're running routine tasks. So when we keep on running routine tasks, we don't have enough energy left for the brilliance in us. And that's where a machine can replace us by using those routine tasks, and we can sit back and be more brilliant. That's my analogy to all this.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Well, this has been a great conversation. I mean, you've really opened my eyes up to a few things that I'm going to probably do a little research on as well, because, I'm a business coach these days. I've kind of transitioned out of doing too much actual tech work. But I work with technology executives, and they're always asking me, how would you approach this? How would you approach that? And so I want to research this, because I think you've opened my eyes to a few things that maybe I wasn't thinking about the right way previously, and hopefully guests as well. So our listeners as well. So tell us where we can find you if we want to reach out.
Yeah, the easiest way to find us would be on our website, which is ThinkTum.ai. So ThinkTum, like think, and TUM, ThinkTum.ai. We have everything on our website. Easy to contact us, profiles for the executives and leaders and people behind the scenes. Myself, you can easily find me on LinkedIn, Eugene Schaffronsky. I'm there. So if anyone wants to reach out to me personally, I'll be happy to. But, Mike, to me, it's also was a pleasure to chat with you. And you kind of initiate some of those very beautiful conversations we don't have to, or we don't tend to have on a daily basis. So that was amazing. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. I really appreciate you being on. And I mean, that's what helps keep the show going. So in any event, thanks everyone for tuning in to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. And we hope you had a great time with us, learning everything that you need to know to stay ahead of the technology curve. And remember, be curious, be updated on all the latest trends, and show them who's the boss. Until next time, we'll be back with plenty more techie tips and tricks, and keep you on top of your game. See ya.